Childhood trauma. Irrational fears. Everyone remembers a horror movie that marked them, in particular, stories with scary dolls. You don't feel comfortable in a room full of dolls either. Let's discover together the most terrifying ones in the history of cinema. Photo, Knowing/Unsplash. It's one of the best-known horror movie dolls in movie history. Chucky is possessed by the soul of serial killer Charles Lee Ray, a voodoo enthusiast. As if that wasn't disturbing enough, the film's director gave the psycho doll a certain dash of dark humor, which he liked to emphasize just before a murder. The Annabelle doll, which has more than a century behind it, is scary enough on its own. But it gets worse when the spirit of the demon Bathsheba enters her. The film Conjuring, inspired by a true story, has caused insomnia and nightmares to millions of people around the world. Pixar has sometimes surprising ideas. In 1995, Toy Story was the first installment of a wonderful and, above all, family-friendly franchise. But mid-plot, Babyface appeared. The appearance of Babyface, the doll in the photo, had more similarities to The Exorcist than any Disney movie. A terrifying moment that sparked screams from children in cinemas around the world. Dead of Night was a precursor to the use of psychopathic dolls in film. In this story, the protagonists of the film meet in an English mansion to tell scary stories. The last story is that of Hugo, a doll who controls his owner and helps him carry out his murderous tendencies. Once again, James Wan proves that a simple puppet is enough to scare half the planet. The puppet seems to have a simple life. But he's a puppet that takes other people's lives. The downside of chasing gun dealers in a toy store. For toys come to life and become more dangerous than the criminals. BB Oopsie, Jack Attack, Grizzly Teddy, and Mr. Statico are the protagonists of Demonic Toys and the culprits behind the Christmas 1992 toy sales slump. An American family decides to set up a doll factory, but the only available site is an island in Mexico, right on top of some Mayan ruins that release the spirits, who become the owners of these dolls. To make things worse, little Jessica befriends Dolly, the most dangerous of them all. At the time, the movie boosted the sale of Barbies, to the detriment of these classic dolls. Anthony Hopkins is a ventriloquist who controls Corky, a dummy who looks like him. The problem is that, from time to time, Corky controls Hopkins and, of course, he doesn't ask him to take out the trash or clean the house. Magic was directed by Richard Attenborough. The scene couldn't be more terrifying. Little Robbie is in his room with the clown, motionless, watching him from the end of his bed. In a second, the clown disappears, and finds himself behind Robbie, trying to strangle him while laughing. A terrifying scene is taken from a masterpiece of horror cinema, Poltergeist. Blade is one of many puppets that André Toulon has brought to life in order to kill anyone who crosses their path. Each puppet has its share of terror, but it is Pinhead, Jester, and Tunnler who stand out the most in the 12 installments of this saga. The Brahms doll is already scary enough at first glance. Add to that the fact that his owners hire Lauren Cohan to care for him, giving him a list of things to do with the doll, like feeding him, playing music, and keeping him company, and it's even worse. But then the doll Brahms seems to start coming to life. The Boy is a film full of clichés, but one that works well to traumatize the viewer. The final chapter of Trilogy of Terror, titled Amelia, tells how a young woman returns home with a handmade hunting figurine, Zuni, representing an Aboriginal warrior with sharp teeth and a spear. It turns out that the doll retains the spirit of a real hunter. The Zuni doll caused chaos and caused many people to get rid of similar dolls they owned. He is one of the best constructed scary characters in movie history. Jigsaw's presence is always disturbing, especially when the viewer learns of the sadistic ordeals he puts his victims through. Another traumatic wonder from James Wan. Episode 126 of the legendary series featured every parent's nightmare, buying a doll for their daughter and watching it try to kill the whole family. That's what happened with Taki Tina. Although the doll is not the killer, its presence is constant and disturbing in each murder. She's an ordinary, commercial doll, and maybe that's why she's even scarier.